Travis,
Yes.
thoughts on the Thor Love and Thunder trailer? We finally had it. It's so funny because the version of this show we were going to try to do last week, and then we found out that your pelvis is crooked. Um, the Thor Love and Thunder news we had was the toy leak that like the Marvel Legends figures had leaked as well as all the box art. And we were like, ooh, like, here's a good look at Thor. Here's a good look at Valkyrie. Here's a good look at Gore the God Butcher. And that was the biggest Thor news you thought we were going to have. And then, boom, we have a trailer now. So, thoughts on the trailer?
It looks like a Taika Waititi led Thor movie,
It
and
certainly
I'm
does.
excited. I'm very excited.
I concur. Yeah, I'm really excited for this as well. I really, really love the aesthetic of the trailer. You know, I myself am not like an 80s classic rock kind of guy. But I appreciate what they're doing with the vibe, especially considering that it looks like at least a good chunk of the movie is going to be Thor and Star-Lord.
Mm-hmm. Which is
So I
surprising.
think that was
I figured that would have been like the first 10 to 20 minutes. You know.
first 10, 20 minutes, and whenever the final battle starts, I wouldn't be surprised if the Guardians reappear to help take on Gore. Um, that's my gut on that one. Uh, but yeah, I love the look of the trailer. I love the diversity of outfits that Thor's gonna have. Um, again, a Marvel continuing to give us the old school classic costumes in live action. In the scene where he's a teenager running through the trees, and then he goes into his movie outfit. That was really nice. But you have the classic MCU Thor look at least for a little bit. We still have Fat Thor, working out, and we've talked about the Fat Thor discourse here a good bit, and I'm sure that whenever the movie comes out, we'll have the last word on Fat Thor discourse. I should make that a shirt for when the movie comes out. Fat Thor
Fat Thor
discourse.
discourse.
Um, in the comments, let us know. Fat Thor discourse shirts or nah. And if you're not watching on YouTube, what was that?
It's just the shot of him with the chains.
Yeah. Again, audio listeners, you can't see me flailing my arms like I'm doing like CrossFit chain things. Yeah, we got Fat Thor. We got hair metal leather vest Thor. And then we have the golden blue armor that we've seen in leaks already. But we also get the armor where he doesn't have any sleeves, but he has a big fur collar. So like just from that, I'm super excited. I think that is a really cool direction to take it from that alone. Just the aesthetic of the movie, it's so colorful. We've talked about this before. I understand and I respect the MCU is bland. It looks flat. There's no color. I respect that criticism. I get it, and to a certain extent, I agree with it. I think that the MCU visual aesthetic, or perhaps lack thereof, is something worth discussing. I think it's been discussed to death, and I think it has been used as a blanket MCU bad argument that doesn't really move the needle on any real discussion of the text with the MCU. That said, I am so glad that everything we've got, that things we're getting from the MCU this year, last year, are trying to correct that. and that the movies and TV shows we've gotten have been very vibrant for the most part, or have something striking going on with its visuals. We'll be talking about Moon Knight at the end of the episode, so we'll get to that.
Skeleton
Yeah,
Birdman is
Skeleton
quite striking.
Birdman. Skeleton Birdman and the internet wanting to fuck him because of course it does.
That shouldn't faze me at this point. I should
No?
not. I shouldn't feel the need to dad the internet. Be like,
No? Is
that's
this your reaction?
Death to all of them.
No, because I want to help them.
It certainly was mine. It certainly was mine. But anyway, Thor trailer talk. Also, I just want to bring this up because I want to have the name right. Assad Ribic, one of the artists on the Thor story that's being loosely adapted here. This is again another conversation about how we need to pay comic book artists for the work that they do in that medium, because the shot where Korg and Thor are standing side by side looking at that giant like monster with the giant spikes on its back, which clearly killed by gore, ripped directly from the comics, and it's a great shot. It's going to be up there with scene like shots ripped straight from the comics, and Batman and Batman v Superman with the lightning strike, and Cap and Tony with the shield and repulsor. This will be one of them, and pay comic book artists for the work that they do, especially when you're going to completely ape it. And I get it, you're adapting the material, it makes sense, but they deserve a paycheck for this as well. I am reminded of the AHA Fraction stuff with Hawkeye, and how, again, all of them deserve remarkable compensation for their stories.
Have a new department, bring them on as quote unquote consultants, and have them, like, if you don't want them to do anything, they don't have to do anything. If you want them there to help you direct the shot or scene so that it matches their art better.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to pay them royalties because you're evil, at the very least you could do is hire them for other jobs.
That's a great point. I appreciate the acknowledgement of evil here. Another thing I think is interesting is it looks like we're getting the Greek pantheon as well. We had rumor from a while ago that Russell Crowe would be playing Zeus, and it seems like we see Zeus a couple times in the trailer, just not his face. And it looks like that hanging city looking.
I remember the rumor being that Russell Crowe was going to be playing Mock Odin. Am I remembering that incorrectly?
I saw both. I saw there was we're going to have another goofy play where he's playing Odin, and then I also saw he might be playing Zeus. And I'm going to land on Zeus here. But yeah, so that's cool. And again, in the story with Gore the God Butcher, who again is missing from this trailer. And I think correctly so. I don't think we need to see and I think the best kinds of trailers are the ones that are very much, this is the vibe of the movie. And while yes, Gore the God Butcher is a striking villain, obviously they are a god killer. Their sword, it is the one that beheaded the Celestial that becomes Nowhere. There's a lot going on with Gore, and I don't think he will take away from or be like tonally inconsistent from the rest of the movie. However, I think that getting the vibe of our heroes is probably a little bit more important, and something I'm excited to get in this trailer. Speaking of our heroes, the big one we finally got our first look at Natalie Portman's Jane Foster as the mighty Thor. Travis, thoughts on the Jane Foster reveal? How do you think? What are you thinking?
Costume looks great. She looks great. My biggest takeaway from it was the clearly glued back together Mjolnir, and I don't mean that like it looked bad. I mean like it was a joke phrase that I realized in the moment sounded like I was saying, "Oh yeah, the effect looked terrible," but like a clearly reconstructed
Yeah,
Mjolnir,
reforged Mjolnir.
which I'm curious how that happened.
Me too. I'm so excited to learn about that. Right? Because that was discourse going in. Like, is it going to be a new hammer? Did they reforge Mjolnir?
I have a
It gave
feeling.
me Kylo Ren's helmet and the Rise of Skywalker vibes with like the color glowing out from the cracks, which is just a
I
cool
have
aesthetic.
I have a feeling like we're gonna get when Jane shows up, we're gonna get this big um flashback and build up to where she is now and how she got to where she is. And nothing will be played as a joke, but like they're gonna set it and shoot it like Dark World.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they're gonna make it feel like one of the original Thor movies. Just
I'm
like
into that.
cut back to Thor and have it be like that was a lot. That was very
You could
intense.
definitely do that. Big question. Do you think they're going to do the cancer storyline?
They've been using a lot of other comic material. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and then again, like to anyone new around here, yeah, like that seems like a given to anybody. But like you said, like they've been really leaning into source material as of late.
Yeah,
Um,
and granted,
so
they know what they can and can't just rip from the comics. Um, I think that's something they could absolutely just. We haven't seen Jane since the Dark World, and we find out that having the Infinity Stone in your body gives you cancer. Who would have thunk?
and you continue to further my theory that is the activation of the X gene for a lot of people.
The X
Is
gene
all
is
of the
just cancer. It's just tumors.
everyone's favorite X-Man, Tumor. But no. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. This looks like everything I wanted it to be. Um, Something interesting I want to touch on before we move on is I've seen a lot of people talking about how they don't love Taika Waititi's tone and how they felt like Hela was turned into a quote unquote joke by the end of Ragnarok and how the movie doesn't take itself super seriously. And to that, I will say this Taika Waititi has a tendency to frame imperialists and fascists in his story as silly and stupid.
I can't remember
One
the
would
filmmaker from like the 50s who made it their mission. They were like, I will never make a Nazi look competent in my
Mel
movies.
Brooks.
It was Mel Brooks? Okay. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, no, that's a Mel
Um,
Brooks quote.
okay. But it's
I'm just making them all look like buffoons. And that's what Taika Waititi does. You know? So I think that Hela and because of the overarching theme of imperialism in Thor Ragnarok and Hela being, and then like the story of how we in the modern day are made to forget about our imperialist roots. Um, Same with Thor and Hela. That Hela kind of, in my opinion, for Waititi, fell under the umbrella of, like, she's a villain and she even gets cool villain moments. Like, she has that cool scene where she's like massacring the Asgardian troops. Um, like, she still gets to have her like big Vader energy, to put it that way, type scene where, rat bastard, kind of cool. She still has her moments, but there's still like the Waititi-esque, framing of an authoritarian as a dipshit that happens there. Because of Gore's origin story, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we got Waititian humor out of Gore. I don't think Gore will be very silly. Considering we're dealing with somebody whose whole thing is, I prayed to the gods to save me and my family, and they did nothing, and now it's personal, and I'm going to kill every single one of them. I don't think Waititi's going to go in a humorous direction there with Gore.
I think also, though, part of why the other reason I think he adds a lot of, injects a lot of humor, is that Thor isn't very relatable. Like, I think
No.
I think that's the issue with Dark World, and to a lesser extent, the original Thor was. In original Thor, you have enough of a grounding where, like, oh, he's powerless on Earth, and it's funny watching him grow accustomed to Earth things,
Yeah. I need a
versus
horse.
yeah. In Dark World, most of the movie is Asgardian politics, and these plots involving having to break Loki out of prison, and I don't remember the rest of them. Oh, getting the stone out of Jane. See, I don't remember the plot of Dark World because I didn't give a shit because I couldn't relate to it at all.
I think that's fair. I think that
I think adding the
the
humor humanizes them enough that you still have Asgardians doing Asgardian things, while also you don't need to have a human character there for us to latch on to. Like, we're laughing and enjoying ourselves, and that way we're staying engaged.
yeah. I think that also Thor is a really hard character to relate to when we first meet him. And I think even if you remove the humor from the equation to a certain extent, you arrive at someone that we've lived with and lost with for so long, that eventually he becomes someone you care about because the journey you've seen him go on. I think that, to make another Star Wars comparison, I think that's something that, I think that's a reason why Obi-Wan Kenobi is so beloved, is that even though, the prequel trilogy screenplays don't give anybody a lot to work with, because Obi-Wan is so central and is such a Jedi paragon, that we follow him for so long and lose everything along with him, that we as the audience can't help but love him. And then you introduce Clone Wars, where everybody actually gets to develop a character. But even then, we live and lose with him even more. So I think even the humor removed, you arrive there, but the humor is like that. Like, that's the nitrous oxide that just kicks it, boom, flies right
I,
into Thor being a
I
person.
think Thor, he's had 8 movies worth of character development now. Like, he's good on
Yeah,
that front. It's not Thor that's the problem. It's everybody else.
true.
It's all of these non-human, not relate. How am I supposed to relate to Gore the God Butcher? Like, that's just not. We are not the same. I am not
I don't know.
murdering gods for fun. Not yet. And
Well, it's not for
until
fun; it's for
then,
revenge.
revenge, whatever.
He hates
Revenge is fun.
Travis. He hates power structures. Gore is an anarchist.
but he's killing
Ah.
mythological creatures, and he's going to talk in a way that is very hard to engage with as an audience, and he's going to have to be kind of funny for me not to fall asleep in the theater, which is why we need Taika Waititi manning this movie, because man, I've tried watching Thor: The Dark World again, and it's not a bad movie. I will say that up front. I don't want to sound like I'm saying it's just a terrible movie, but I cannot stay awake through that movie. Because
I get that.
Like, and it's one of those things. It's the writing equivalent of what I talked about with the Snyder Cut back when it came out, where the ending fight scene wasn't bad. I could not stay engaged or awake because the entire thing practically was black and white. But it wasn't like, it was just grayscaled basically. Like there was no color in anything that was happening. And I was like, I can't tell what's going on and I don't care. It's just a mass of destroyed buildings and bodies. And I can't tell what's what in that pile. So who cares? If I'm watching Thor: The Dark World, I'm like, everyone seems to be upset. I don't particularly care about what. Who cares?
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. But yeah, I think that does it for Love and Thunder Talk. If you like what you saw there, be sure to subscribe, stick around, and check out entire episodes of the Nerd Academy podcast, Knights of the Nerd Republic, the #1 contender, TNAP Movie Club, all of our podcasts here. If you're a nerd, we got something for you. We cover the movie trivia Schmodown. We cover Star Wars. We cover Marvel, DC, movies in general. If you're looking for it, we got it. We'd love to have you. So yeah, class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!